at the end of last year, it started to become quite clear that not only was the Renaissance not going to be real, but moreover, the nuclear industry in the U.S. was very likely at the incipient stage of a significant decline.
The share of nuclear generation has remained fairly constant even though we haven't been building new plants. And the reason for that is the performance has continued to improve year after year, so that today nuclear performance in the U.S. is as good as you'll find anywhere.
Because we were so dominant through the 1960s and 1970s, the United States could design a global system of security for nuclear energy. If we recede from the role of being the world's leader in nuclear energy, and we are receding, then we're not going to be in a position to determine the security environment that we need on a global basis.
About 90% of the nuclear capacity is all within about 10 years old of each other. And what that means is that we start to get out to 2030, 2035 and so forth, and the nuclear plants start to retire. And we start to lose a very important part of that generation portfolio.
Nuclear energy in the U.S. is extraordinarily challenged. We have the dominant impact of shale gas and driving down energy prices. Great for America, but it really puts economic pressures on nuclear energy. Financial structuring for new projects was just not coming together. Then we had Fukushima, and now the implications of Fukushima, both for additional regulations as well as public perception.
Preparedness for the emergency is quite important. I think it's not the issue of reactor technology, but once something happened beyond design basis, how we should be prepared, and when it happens, how we have to treat them is quite important.
I think we're at a decisional crossroad where we need to think of the value and importance of nuclear power in our future.
The challenges are the time domain, the upfront investment, and the mechanisms, particularly in government, that promote and help us recognize and reward what I would call a balanced portfolio of energy choices.
You know, it's tough in the United States because of our regulatory framework to be able to justify an investment today that's going to last you for 60 years. And you've got to wait a few years to get the return on your investment. We're not set up in our regulatory environment to manage through that. And I think that's probably the greatest challenge to new nuclear in the U.S. right now.
I think we're at a critical time. There are options if we have less nuclear to provide alternative reliability services, but the question will be, what will those cost?
Nuclear energy matters because of its contribution to clean energy and the ability for countries around the world to have energy independence and very dependable, affordable, clean baseload generation.
We also have an opportunity to have nuclear units provide support and reliability services that would help integrate larger amounts of wind and solar and other renewable resources.
The amount of carbon that we avoid through operating 104 reactors is about 700 million metric tons a year.
Now, what do we want for the future for ourselves and the world? And the question always comes down to choices and costs, risks, and environmental impacts. And I'm convinced that nuclear energy, when it's judged in the right time scale, which is always long term, that it's competitive in terms of the other choices and costs, risks, and environmental impacts.
It's too late to stop nuclear power. The energy demands of the global economy are such that China, Russia, India, amongst others, are going to continue building nuclear power plants. So we don't really have the option of dropping out of the picture. Nuclear power plants are going to be built, and the U.S. needs to be involved so that we can have some influence on the way they are operated.
This project really springs out of these two ambitions: to try to have abundant energy for the world that's safe for the environment and safe for our security.